The holographic display flickered in the command center of the Zephron warship Eternal Dominion, casting an eerie blue glow across Commander Katniss's face. She studied the tactical readout with calculating eyes, her three-fingered hand tracing the coordinates of the primitive planet below. Earth, the humans' homeworld. They're nothing but savages clinging to a water-soaked rock, she muttered, her voice carrying the characteristic resonance of her species. Our scouts confirm their technology is centuries behind ours. Neo, her second-in-command, shifted uncomfortably at his station. He was younger than Katniss, less decorated, but he had spent months studying the ancient archives during their journey to this distant arm of the galaxy. What he had found there troubled him deeply. "Commander," Neo began, his vocal cords tight with apprehension, "I must again advise caution. The Ancient Ones left explicit warnings about—" "The Ancient Ones are dust," Katniss interrupted, her eyes never leaving the display. "They fell a millennium ago. Their warnings are the paranoid whispers of a dying civilization. But the records specifically mention humanity," Neo pressed, pulling up a weathered data file on his personal display. "There's a treaty clause written in 12 languages that states, never engage humanity on their oceans. Never challenge them at sea." Katniss finally turned to face him, her expression a mixture of amusement and irritation. "You want me to fear a species that still uses combustion engines? That hasn't even colonized their own moon permanently." She gestured at the tactical display. "Look at their vessels. Metal boxes floating on water. We have plasma cannons that can vaporize entire cities. We have shields that can withstand stellar radiation. What do they have? Bullets and missiles? They have something that frightened the Ancient Ones enough to codify it into galactic law," Neo replied quietly. Katniss dismissed his concerns with a wave of her hand. "Initiate descent protocol. We'll make an example of their naval forces. Target their largest battle group. This United States Navy the scouts mentioned. Once we crush their strongest warriors, the rest of their planet will fall in line." Neo wanted to protest further, but discipline and rank held his tongue. He initiated the sequence, watching as their fleet of 30 warships broke orbit and descended through Earth's atmosphere. They emerged above a vast expanse of blue, the Pacific Ocean, where human vessels moved in formation, completely unaware of the doom descending upon them. The human ships were absurdly primitive. Aircraft carriers, destroyers, cruisers, all of them bound by the physics of buoyancy and wind resistance. Katniss almost laughed. Her single flagship could annihilate them all. "Open a communication channel," she ordered. "Let's give them a chance to surrender." The transmission crackled to life, and a human face appeared on screen. A weathered man with steel-gray hair and eyes that held no fear. Only cold calculation. "This is Admiral Marcus Reeves of the United States Navy," the human said. "You are in violation of Earth's territorial waters. Withdraw immediately or face consequences." Katniss actually did laugh then. "Consequences? Your primitive vessels are no match for our technology. Stand down, or we will send you to the bottom of your ocean." Admiral Reeves's expression didn't change. "Son, we've been sending people to the bottom of the ocean for centuries. It's kind of our thing." He paused, then added almost conversationally, "Last chance to leave." Katniss cut the transmission and targeted the lead carrier. "Fire!" The plasma cannon charged and released its devastating payload. The bolt of superheated energy screamed toward the human ship and struck an invisible barrier 20 meters from its hull. The humans had shields, primitive electromagnetic shields, but shields nonetheless. "Impossible," Katniss breathed. "Their technology level shouldn't—" "All vessels, this is Admiral Reeves. Weapons free. Show them why the old ones were scared." What happened next would be analyzed by Zephron tactical computers for generations, and they would never fully understand it. The human ships moved with a precision that seemed impossible for such primitive vessels. Missiles launched by the hundreds, not at the Zephron ships but at the water around them. The ocean itself became a weapon. Torpedoes created cavitation fields that disrupted Zephron propulsion systems. Electromagnetic pulses delivered via the conductive seawater cascaded through alien shields like they weren't even there. Fighter jets launched from the carriers, and Neo watched in horror as they didn't try to match Zephron's speed or technology. They used the one thing the aliens couldn't replicate: complete mastery of atmospheric combat in Earth-specific conditions. They knew every wind current, every thermal, every trick that gravity and air pressure could offer. "Commander, we're losing ships," Neo shouted over the alarms. "They're submarines, we didn't even see them, they're firing from below." Katniss stared in disbelief as her tactical display showed vessel after vessel going dark. The humans weren't using better technology. They were using better knowledge. Every weapon, every maneuver, every tactic was born from thousands of years of naval warfare. Humanity had been fighting on oceans since before Zefron had even discovered space travel. A human submarine had fired something called a supercavitating torpedo that moved through water faster than Zefron sensors could track. It struck the Eternal Dominion below the waterline, because despite all their technology, the Zefron had never considered that attacks might come from beneath. "Full retreat," Katniss ordered, her pride shattered. "All ships, emergency ascent." But the humans had planned for that too. As the alien vessels tried to climb back toward space, they found their paths blocked by aircraft deploying chaff and electronic warfare systems. More missiles, guided by decades of tactical doctrine, found their marks. Of the 30 ships that had descended so confidently, only 12 made it back to orbit. Katniss and Neo were among the survivors, but barely. In the silence of their crippled flagship, Neo pulled up the ancient warning again and read it aloud. "Humanity learned to conquer their oceans before they learned to conquer the stars. In that crucible they became something we could never defeat. Their seas are their birthright, their heritage, their proving ground. Never fight them there. Never challenge them at sea." Katniss said nothing. There was nothing to say. The Ancient Ones had known. They had tried to warn them. Below on the blue planet, Admiral Reeves stood on the deck of his carrier and watched the alien ships flee. He thought about the centuries of naval tradition behind him, from wooden ships and iron men to nuclear carriers and railguns. The ocean had taught humanity patience, strategy, and the fundamental truth that survival at sea demanded excellence. "Sir," his executive officer said quietly. "Should we pursue?" Reeves shook his head. "No, let them go. Let them tell others what they learned here today." He looked out at the vast Pacific, at the element that had forged his civilization's greatest warriors. Let them remember why the ancients were afraid. The end.